Good evening and welcome to another exciting evening of Swamp Bats baseball here at Alumni Field in Keene, New Hampshire. I'm Mark Schwartz, joined alongside me as always, the color analyst Mike Borgese. We have another exciting game here tonight between the hosting Keene Swamp Bats and the visiting Danbury Westerners, a rival of the Western Division of the NECBL. And these teams have a lot of history between each other, specifically this year, as this is the fourth time that these two teams have matched up so far. But before we get into tonight's matchup and history between these two teams, let's take a look back at the last game the Swamp Bats played. That was back on Sunday night when they went to North Adams, Massachusetts and took on the second place team in the Western Division, the North Adams Steeplecats, a game in which the Swamp Bats only suffered their third loss of the season, a game in which I'm sure the Swamp Bats would like to have back, but they went up against a good Steeplecats team.
Andrew Grant was forced into that starting pitching role. Tyler Gauthier was originally the starter, but he had to come in against Vermont the day before and had to save that game, close that game out. So Andrew Grant forced in that game, probably about 24 hours knowing he was the starting pitcher. He went up against a very good pitcher in Charlie Law, who went 7 strong innings. And Charlie Law was too much for the Swamp Bats. They were only able to put up 2 runs against him, and Grant was able to match Charlie Law.
Yeah, well, Law, one of the best players in the NECBL so far this year. The 6'7" righty from Rutgers, a big presence on the mound. Not only has he been a top pitcher for North Adams, but he's also been one of their top hitters as he came into the game on Sunday against the Swamp Bats, second in the league in RBIs with 15. So he's been a great two-way player for the North Adams Steeplecats, and North Adams beat Keene, and now they're only a half game behind the Swamp Bats, who are still in first place in the Western Division. But now we look at the game tonight against this Danbury Westerners team, and I'm sure a lot of NECBL fans are quite aware of what happened the last time that these two teams faced off against each other. This is the 4th time they played. First 2 times these two teams played was here at Alumni Field, and actually it was last week, Tuesday night, where the Swamp Bats wound up throwing a no-hitter against this Westerners team. It was a game in which tonight's starting pitcher Kevin McAvoy actually started that game last Tuesday night, and the Swamp Bats had 3 pitchers that combined for only the second no-hitter in franchise history, so that was a great game for Keene.
It was a great game for McAvoy and all those 3 pitchers, and as you said, they're now the NECBL Pitchers of the Week in Kevin McAvoy, Ryan Horstman, and Tyler Gauthier. They're right now the reigning pitchers of the week. This will be the second time that the Westerners will face McAvoy. Usually the first time a pitcher faces the team, he has the advantage. Now these hitters will go against McAvoy for the second time and have know what he's throwing. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do today and continue that no-hit streak. So it'll be an interesting game here. And with this being the 3rd game at Keene, the Swamp Bats got better to get into that field in Danbury, where they have 3 more in Danbury.
Yeah, well, the last time that these two teams played was at Rogers Park down in Danbury, Connecticut, and the Swamp Bats actually jumped out to an early 8-2 lead in that game and seemed to have things under control until there was a little skirmish at home plate. J.P. Sportman ran over the catcher for the Westerners, Jake Ivory, and was immediately tossed from the game. The next pitch, Fran Witten, who had been talking with the starter for the Westerners, John Porter, hit a 3-run home run over the wall, but then flipped his bat a little bit, which upset some of the Westerners players. They threw at Austin Wheeler, who was the next batter in the game, and immediately John Porter, the starter, was tossed. So a lot of history between these two teams and an exciting game last week.
A lot of history. J.P. Sportman will be in the outfield today after getting tossed from that last game against the Westerners. He's going to want to get some revenge, at least hitting-wise, because a couple of bats were taken away when he was ejected. Fran Witten is going to want some more revenge. Him and Porter had a little skirmish, talking-wise, so it'll be interesting to see what these hitters do against the Westerners pitching staff. They want to make up for that 6-run lead that they lost, and they want to take one on their home field, a little nice home cooking.
Yeah, well, it was 7 unanswered runs by the Westerners after the Swamp Bats got out to an early 8-2 lead that came back, and at the time only gave the Swamp Bats their 2nd loss of the year. Now they're at 9-3, still in first place in the division. Danbury has a 6-8 record, tied for 3rd in the division, along with the Holyoke Blue Sox and the Vermont Mountaineers. So Danbury trying to work their way back into the standings as well. So now, Mike, we look at tonight's game, and as always, I'm going to need a prediction out of you here from Alumni Field.
Well, I think the Swamp Bats need to take this one. They want to go a full game up against North Adams. North Adams comes in for the next 2. They have their 2nd of 2 off days. So you want to go up a full game, trying to make up those games and we equal. Swamp Bats have the advantage in the loss column and have another advantage in the win column right here. Get a win, and I think that they'll be able. I think it's going to be a much more tightly contested game. I don't think that there's going to be any no-hitter tonight, but I think it's going to be more contested. I think it's going to be 7-4 Swamp Bats.
There he is. He has not predicted a Swamp Bats loss yet this year. We'll see if his streak continues. His prediction.
They've all won those games that I predicted.
Yeah, he has called them right every game so far this year. So Mike's prediction, 7-4 Swamp Bats on top. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have first pitch on the NECBL Broadcast Network.